There's outrage brewing across the United Kingdom, and it's not coming from a political scandal or a government policy. No, this fury is royal, because somehow, against all odds, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, along with their children, have been placed at the very heart of King Charles's official funeral plans. Yes, you heard that right. The same Meghan Markle who accused the royal family of racism, the same Harry who publicly dragged his father through the mud in interviews and his memoir. And now, Charles wants them front and center for what will likely be the most watched state event of the decade, his own funeral. Before we unpack this bombshell and everything it reveals about the monarchy's fractured future, make sure to subscribe to our channel. This is where we cut through the headlines, expose the spin, and give you the real story behind royal drama. So tap that button now. You won't want to miss what's coming next. The news broke through a leak to none other than the Daily publication with direct ties to the royal household and considered by many to be the unofficial mouthpiece of Buckingham Palace. According to their deputy royal editor, King Charles has not only included Harry and Meghan in his funeral arrangements, he's placed them at the very core of it. We're talking procession roles, ceremonial duties, a vigil at Westminster Hall, and yes, Yvonne, their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, have designated spots at the funeral and committal service. And just like that, the public erupted. Royal watchers, monarchists, commentators, and even insiders, many of them furious, some dumbfounded, and others just plain exhausted by what they see as a royal circus with two rogue performers constantly stealing the stage. The timing? Awful. The logic? Questionable. And the implications? Potentially disastrous. To understand just how deep the backlash runs, you have to rewind the clock. Meghan Markle wasn't just critical of the royal family, she publicly accused an unnamed senior royal of expressing concern over the skin color of her unborn child. That moment, delivered during the infamous Oprah interview, sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace and sparked an international debate on race, tradition, and modern monarchy. Many believed and still do that. The accusations were aimed directly at King Charles, though the Sussexes never confirmed the identity. Since then, Meghan and Harry have released a tell-all docuseries. Harry has dropped his explosive memoir, Spare, and both have taken frequent swipes at the monarchy during American interviews. So when word spread that Charles had drafted plans to place them at the emotional epicenter of his own state funeral, it felt like a betrayal to many, not just to tradition but to the very institution. Charles is supposed to preserve. Royal commentator Lee Cohen didn't mince words. He called the Sussexes vile creatures who should be forever marginalized. And he's not alone. Across social media and in palace-adjacent circles, the sentiment is clear. Meghan and Harry burned their bridges. Why are they being invited to walk back across them like nothing ever happened? But the real flashpoint may not even be Meghan or Harry. It might be Prince William. Reports indicate that the Prince of Wales, who will become King William upon his father's death, has zero interest in reconciliation. According to insiders, William has mentally and emotionally moved on from his younger brother. After the Queen's funeral and the coronation, where Harry was visibly sidelined, it's become obvious to anyone watching that William has no intention of repairing the relationship. So what is Charles thinking? The answer might lie not in strategy but in sentiment. Sources close to the king say he still holds out hope for family unity. That perhaps, if not in life, then in death, he can bring his sons together one final time. He reportedly wants Archie and Lilibet included as a way to begin building bonds with the grandchildren he's barely seen. A final olive branch, wrapped in state protocol and national mourning. But is that hope blinding him to reality? Because while Charles may be thinking about legacy, William is thinking about the future. And in William's vision of the monarchy, Harry and Meghan aren't just irrelevant, they're liabilities. A permanent reminder of division, scandal, and lost public trust. William wants a streamlined royal family, not a headline-generating duo with Netflix deals and podcast aspirations. That makes the funeral not just a royal event, but a symbolic battleground, one that could define the tone of the monarchy for years to come. And yet, there's another layer to all this, one that's received far less attention but speaks volumes about the dynamics behind the scenes. Security. Harry has long insisted that he will not return to the UK with his wife and children unless he is granted full police protection, even at events as significant as the Queen's funeral or his father's coronation. Harry has made it clear he wants government-funded security or he stays away. Critics have called it petulant. Supporters say it's about safety. But either way, it's a hard line that complicates any royal event. Technically, during a state funeral, he and his family would be enveloped under the broader security apparatus. But the mere fact that this is still a public issue shows how deeply strained the relationship remains. What makes this even more bizarre is that Meghan, who claims to be so protective of her children's privacy, would even allow them to attend. The the biggest televised funeral of the decade? Some critics argue that she's not a hands-on parent, and that her hesitation to bring the children into the spotlight has more to do with controlling their brand than protecting their well-being. These claims, of course, are speculative, but what isn't speculative is Meghan's obsession with image. And too many. The image of her curtsying in Westminster Abbey, after years of dragging the royal family through the media, would be nothing short of performative farce. And here's the kicker: some insiders believe that Meghan would only agree to participate if it benefits her financially or publicly, the crown jewels of PR, if you will. But Meghan's presence at the funeral isn't just about her motives. It's about the ripple effect. Her inclusion brings with it tabloid frenzy, camera flashes, and global speculation. It shifts attention from the solemnity of a monarch's death to the spectacle of royal rivalry. It forces William, who is likely to be in a state of deep grief, to share a stage with the very couple who he feels betrayed, their family and their country. And that tension is precisely what has royalists up in arms. Because what King Charles sees as a final act of unity, much of the British public sees as yet another dangerous concession. One that risks turning a sacred national ceremony into a performative PR opportunity for two people who walked away from it only to return when the cameras are rolling. And let's not forget how Meghan and Harry have handled royal events in the past. At Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, there was confusion over whether they were invited to the official state reception. There were wardrobe disputes, military uniform drama, even allegations that they were kept in the dark about the Queen's passing allegations. By the way, that palace insiders flatly deny, and yet they took those slights to the press, igniting yet another wave of media attention. These are not small misunderstandings. These are the kinds of incidents that reveal just how broken communication between the Sussexes and Buckingham Palace really is. So now, here we are. Not only is Charles including them in the plan, he's giving them a leading role. According to The Telegraph, Prince Harry is expected to walk side by side with Prince William, the future king, through central London, side by side. The same William who no longer considers Harry part of his life, the same William who reportedly feels that Harry's truth bombs have damaged the royal institution beyond repair. And let's not ignore the children Archie and Lilibet factored into the arrangements for both the funeral at Westminster Abbey and the private committal at St. George's Chapel. That's a huge statement. Not only are they being included, they're being woven into the very fabric of royal tradition. Despite the fact they've spent nearly their entire lives in California, entirely removed from public royal duties. But here's what makes that detail even more loaded. To many observers, this feels like Charles signaling that Archie and Lilibet will remain recognized as prince and princess, an honorific that not everyone believes they've earned. The public has barely seen these children. There's widespread confusion about whether they're being raised with any connection to British values or traditions. And yet, their attendance at the king's funeral would cement their place in the royal line, at least in the eyes of global media. Critics argue that this isn't about family at all, it's about optics, a final performance of unity, a visual spectacle that suggests closure, harmony, and royal strength. But behind the scenes, the divisions couldn't be deeper, and therein lies the real danger. Because when you invite people into a sacred space, under the guise of reconciliation, people who have made a career out of monetizing their estrangement, you invite chaos. You risk another Oprah moment, another Netflix special, another memoir, another leak. Even now, the very article that broke this story came from a journalist with known sympathies toward Harry and Meghan. This wasn't some passive detail dropped into an official announcement. It was a calculated leak, likely meant to prepare the public or perhaps test the waters before a formal decision is made. And the reaction? Predictable, outraged. Royal historian and expert Brittany from the Royal News Network put it bluntly. Charles may want reconciliation, but he's likely sowing the seeds for a deeper rift. Once the king passes, William will take over and the gloves may come off. If William chooses to finally sever ties, that moment could be one of the first defining acts of his reign. And here's something that should not be overlooked. Charles's desire to reunite with his grandchildren is understandable, even admirable. But as Brittany pointed out, this entire olive branch is being extended from a place of personal regret and emotional longing, not political wisdom. In the royal world, sentiment is a luxury, and one that often costs far more than it's worth. Harry, in his BBC interview, spoke of wanting reconciliation. He admitted his father wouldn't speak to him because of the security issues. But what he failed to acknowledge was the role he played in destroying that relationship. The memoir, the Netflix series, the accusations, they weren't just personal grievances. They were public attacks that undermined the very foundation of the monarchy. And while Charles seems willing to forgive all in the name of unity, William and Catherine reportedly want nothing to do with it. For them, the damage is too deep, the disrespect too loud, and the path forward to focused on the next generation of working royals of which Harry and Meghan are decidedly not a part. So let's be honest. What will this funeral really look like? Will it be a somber ceremony honoring a beloved monarch, a tightly choreographed drama of forced smiles and hollow gestures? Will Harry and Meghan attend quietly, respecting the occasion? Or will the tabloids get their money shot side-eye glances, awkward body language, or another viral video of Meghan curtsying just a little too deeply? And if that happens, the funeral becomes a media circus. Then Charles's final attempt at unity may ironically become his greatest legacy of division. Because this isn't just a funeral, it's the royal family's most fragile moment. One where every step, every glance, every seat placement, and every camera angle will be dissected by the public, the press, and history itself. And if there's one thing history has taught us about the monarchy, it's that the crown may be symbolic, but its actions echo far beyond the palace walls. Those echoes are already being felt. Inside Buckingham Palace, where aides walk a tightrope between duty and diplomacy, there's mounting concern, not just about media backlash or public opinion, but about the sheer unpredictability of the Sussexes. It's not just what Harry might say or what Meghan might wear. It's the underlying fear that at any moment the focus could shift from national mourning to personal branding. That's not paranoia, that's precedent after all. The Queen's death didn't just bring Britain to a standstill, it gave rise to a new wave of Sussex narratives. From leaks about invitations to whispered feuds caught on camera, Harry and Meghan's presence turned what should have been a unified farewell into a soap opera. And insiders know if it happened once, it can happen again, which is why this funeral plan feels less like a noble gesture and more like a ticking time bomb. A king's final act of hope, wrapped in centuries-old tradition, standing at the mercy of modern celebrity chaos. Because let's not sugarcoat it, Harry and Meghan are not royals in the traditional sense anymore. They're global influencers. Their currency is attention, their platform is media, and their strategy is exposure. The palace may still see them as family, but the public increasingly sees them as performers in a drama they can't seem to exit. And at the center of this all is a question that refuses to go away. What happens next? Will Meghan Markle use the funeral as a path to redemption, proving the critics wrong and showing true dignity and respect for the man she once allegedly branded a racist? Or will she play it for optics? Another calculated move in the endless campaign to control the narrative. Will Harry seize the moment to make peace with his brother? Or will he walk in solemn silence, burdened by a relationship he's shattered yet unwilling to fix? And perhaps most haunting of all, will William, the man who will carry the crown forward, allow the past to poison the future? Or will he draw a line so firm that no olive branch can ever be extended again? What we do know is this: Charles's funeral will be historic. Not just because of the man it honors, but because of what it will reveal. About loyalty, about legacy, about the line between forgiveness and foolishness. And when that moment comes, with billions watching, the world won't just be looking at a flag-draped coffin. It'll be watching a family fractured and fragile, trying to decide what they stand for. Because if you think this is just about a funeral, you haven't been paying attention. This is the final test of a monarchy already stretched to its limits. The last chapter of a king trying to heal what may be and maybe, just maybe, the last chance for Harry and Meghan to prove that they still belong in the house they chose to leave behind. Or perhaps it will be the moment the monarchy finally and irrevocably says goodbye to them. And as for the British people, they're watching. They remember the accusations, the headlines, the betrayals. They also remember the dignity of Queen Elizabeth, the steadfast presence of Prince Philip, and the silence of William through it all. So when Meghan curtsies and Harry bows their heads, will it be enough? Or will it be seen for what it is, too little, far too late? One thing's for sure: when the time comes, all eyes will be on that funeral. But the real story will be playing out in the expressions, the silences, the glances that say everything no royal statement ever could. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, it means you care about the truth behind the headlines. And we're just getting started. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We'll be here to cover every twist, every whisper, and every moment that shapes the future of the crown. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay with us.